All right, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. Uh, I may seem a little scuffed today because I've had a lot of things going on here. So we are going to be playing Detroit Become Human. It's my first time ever playing it. I did find an optimization tool for this, so hopefully I can continue to run my model during this. If it gets choppy at all, or something happens where you like maybe the game's too loud or something like that, please let me know. Um, in about an hour, I will have to take about a 5-10 minute break on the stream for a doctor's appointment, but my doctor is like hella fast. So as soon as she's done, I'll just like pop back in. So anyway, let me go ahead and let me stop the music and then we can hop on over to the game. And I'm like already like super impressed with like how this game looks, and it's like fucking 6 years old now, which is crazy. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it here. Hey, Pensy. Like I said, just let me know if like the game's like super loud or anything like that. I can like change the levels for that. I don't controller. It was letting me do it last night. The hell, mate. There we go. This android guy like looks familiar. Like he looks like an actor. Sure, they probably. Oh, fishy! Save the fishy. I want to know how the fish even ended up on the floor there. I'll have to use my investigative prowess. Racist.
Why aren't you sending a real person?
I mean, I get it though. Yeah, I would be concerned too. Moriarty guy and BBC Sherlock, yeah. Got a crisp ass name too. I need information to determine the best approach. Wait, you can't hear it? Shit. Hold on. Oh, I know what I forgot. Damn it. I'm so sorry, guys. Yes, there is, boy. Great. Okay, I got it now. Is the music super loud or anything at least, or? This, you guys should be able to hear it now. I mean, it kind of helps because I was also like kind of making fun of the android's voice. Deconstruct. Evian took the father's gun. 100% the dad's fault for not having this, like, locked up. Oh. Lock the dialogue or action, often beneficial. Yeah. How did we hear gunshots? So that's more percentage there. Hostage searched. That's good. Oh, the dad got shot. I wonder if the dad was, gross. Whoops, John. Lower lung, hemorrhaged, bleeding. Bullet wound, left kidney. Holdings. Hey, Annie, how's it going? Oh, he was gonna buy a different android. Yeah, it is pretty much Snoop.
Cover me while I back to man down. I repeat.
Anything else? Family was about to have dinner. I'm sure these cops are about to be pretty pissed at me.
What are we
here.
waiting for? We should take down this asshole.
Blue blood. Model serial number 639. 600. 71%. That's pretty good. Music is a bit loud compared to. Okay. Let's try that. And maybe I can turn the actual music down a little bit. Or not. They don't have specific, I guess. That's really stupid. Alright, whatever.
Move it, goddammit!
Why can't they do what it wants? Left button. Fuck. Left bumper. Okay. Here. Okay. Let's see anything. Is that a little better, by the way? Could be wounded. 70%. Oh, maybe, yeah, maybe if I look this way. No, it gives me the same angle. So, not exactly sure. Okay. I think maybe I need to do something. Okay, cops freak out here. Eight heart vegetable. That residue. Yeah. Okay, so that's hostage witnessed the shooting. Cop shot the deviant. Let's go. Didn't look. Just in case I need it. don't want to have to shoot the android, but let's just take it just in case. Let's be sneaky. Something there. Alright. I think... know if there's anything that's I can check before they start freaking out here. Maybe there's... I don't know if I have a time limit here. Oh wait, here we go. Non-lethal wound. Okay, I guess I got it.
What the fuck are you doing?
Alright.
Stay back! Don't come any closer or I'll jump!
No, please, I'm begging you.
What's that? It's all really... It's low. Okay. Give me any option to... Is anybody else having trouble hearing the dialogue?
I was wrong! She's just like all the other humans!
Daniel, no.
They were going to replace you, and you became upset. That's what happened, right?
I thought I was part of the family. I thought I mattered. But I was just their toy. Something to throw away when you're done with it.
Listen, I know it's not your fault. These emotions you're feeling are just errors in your software.
No, it's not my fault. I never wanted this. I loved them, you know? But I was nothing to them. Just a slave to be ordered around. I can't stand that noise anymore. Tell that helicopter to get out of here.
He does have a big...
The situation is under control.
Yeah, they'll bite me with their big ass mouth.
There! I did what you wanted! You have to trust me, Daniel! Let the hostage go and I promise you, everything will be fine!
I want everyone to leave! And I want a car. When I'm outside the city, I'll let her go.
That's impossible, Daniel. Let the girl go, and I promise you won't be hurt.
I don't want to die.
You're not going to die. We're just going to talk. Nothing will happen to you. You have my word.
Did I do?
Okay. I trust you.
They're probably gonna shoot him anyway, aren't they? Yep.
You lied to me, Connor. You lied to me.
Wow. Bet you these cops are racist. Didn't even check on the little girl? Jeez. This is the scene's flowchart. Here you can review the paths you've taken, the paths yet to be explored, and what possibilities you've unlocked. Each node earns you points that you can spend in the extras. Due to the nature of the game, some nodes and endings will not be counted toward the completion of the flowchart. Oh wow, holy shit. That's like, oh my god. Oh my god, so much. We're not gonna worry about. We're just gonna continue. That seems a bit much.
This is the top-of-the-range household assistant. It cooks 10,000 different dishes.
Come on, Zoe,
speaks
let's go.
200 languages and dialects. And handles the kids' homework from elementary school up to university level. Can I help?
Wow. Honey, it looks amazing. This is exactly what we need.
How much did you say it cost?
At the moment, we're doing a special promotion on this entire range.
I can show you another model.
$7,999 with 48 months interest rate. And
It is
does
like an Apple
absolutely
store.
all the work around the house. Painting, plumbing, gardening, repairs. At night, it switches to surveillance mode and contacts emergency services if there's a break-in or if it detects smoke.
Excuse me, how much is that one over there?
The MP800 is slightly more expensive, but it has many other functions.
Thank
Come along and I'll show you.
Slightly more expensive. Lots
Yeah,
of fun.
right
I
back.
don't like this guy.
There it is.
Must
Look at
be
this
It's a bit
chart.
difficult getting it back in working order.
okay.
It was really messed up. What'd you say happened to it again?
The car hit it. Stupid
Uh-oh.
accident.
Oh, I see.
This guy's a creep, isn't
Anyway, it's as good as new now, except that we had to reset it. Meaning we had to wipe its memory. I hope you don't mind.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Did you give it a name?
My daughter did.
AX400. Register your name.
Kara.
My name is Kara.
he? Yeah, he's totally Meatloaf. Detroit Android City. So, is this the future without all the current politicians we have? Because there's no way in fuck any city would be like this technologically advanced at our current state. That's why we don't have cool shit. Because we got fucking 80-year-old assholes shitting their pants, making decisions. And the graphics are still, like, really impressive for how old this game is. Uh-oh. Wait, this guy, like, lives in the still hood and he has an android? Like, how affordable are these things? Yeah, these guys' thing unzipped a little bit, you know? Probably like a cell phone, true.
Would you like to go home now?
Yes, Rose. Yes, I think that's enough for one day.
Here. Let me help you.
Controls are weird.
Oh, thank you, dear.
You can rediscover articles in the extras section. How the environment is changing American society. Miami to heighten seawall further 10 meters. Yeah. Not wrong. No, it crashed. No, why? All I did was read a magazine. The fuck. Are you gonna fix yourself, or are you just gonna crash car? Oh, you bitch. Come on, figure out what you're gonna do. Maybe it'll fix itself. Let's see if it'll fix itself real quick. If it doesn't, then I guess we'll have to read. Come on, fix yourself. Fix yourself. I want to keep playing. Yeah, that's true. Go ahead and close. Man, that's lame. Alright, let's just shop. Put on my little house for it. That sucks. My poor little PC is like, hung, hung. Hell, did I just crash again? The fuck? Don't do this to me. Game's like 6 years old. Come on. Hopefully I can continue where I left off.
I haven't seen you.
So I won't pick up the Even though it's something I kind of need to do, you know, for the game to work. I mean, I need to be Snoopy in this game. Like, this game's already super cool. Like, I want to fucking play it. Okay, cool. Got our cool guy android here.
Would you like to go home now?
Yes, Rose. Yes, I think that's enough for one day.
Here. Let me help.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have run 12 miles and are 5 miles away from your goal.
I don't want to wait. Fuck the police. I'm an android. Yeah, that's right. You keep rolling. Oh my god, when is this red light gonna... I mean green light gonna... Jeez. That took a hot minute. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Free GPS. I don't want to do that though. I want to look around and snoop.
When do we want it? Now! What do we want? When do we want it? Now!
Oh, it's not letting me snoop all that much.
Jobs. We got families to feed, and these androids.
Okay. Alright, so we got protesters.
They're waiting in the darkness for the right moment to take our place. For it is
You just said it was. Like, what the fuck? Lying to me? Oh, okay.
Our latest range of Avenger suits feature biosensors, allowing you to monitor...
They took her germs.
Fashion tailored for fitness.
Space occupied. Welcome to Android parking.
Oh, like that.
Identification verified.
Beep boop. I'm a Bobot.
Here is your order number 847. That will be $63.99. Please confirm payment.
Payment confirmed.
Transaction complete.
So. I don't know why. He's just like giving him like the sternest, like, I don't like the way this other android's looking at me. That was expensive. Of course that these are traditional art supplies. That does make sense. That does actually track.
Welcome to Android parking.
I have to take the bus home. Back this way. Apple Pay and ass, yeah.
Spaces are available
buddy.
When do we want it? Now!
That's it.
Androids are stealing our jobs. We've got families to feed, and these androids are taking our... Where the fuck you going, Tin Can?
Pick it up. Faster.
Hey guys, check it out. We got one of those tin cans here.
They pushed him
Little
down in the snake
motherfucker. You
water.
steal our jobs, but you can't even stand up.
Yeah, grab him.
You ain't going anywhere. We're gonna fuck your bitch ass up.
Yeah, waste it.
Do it!
All right. It's enough. Leave it alone.
Let us teach this bastard a lesson.
You damage it, I'm gonna have to fine you.
You're gonna take your job next. You see how you like it.
Okay. Let's go. Run along.
Androids are stealing our jobs. We got families to feed.
No, don't leave. You son of a bitch.
Customers are reminded that all androids must ride in the designated section.
You saw me walk up. Are you also racist? You know, it's funny. I was actually complaining about, like, clankers before, and now I'm playing a clanker, so. You know, if they were, like, this, like, close to being human and stuff, I would not be a jerk to them. Oh, man, the back of the bus. I actually prefer the back of the bus, to be honest with you. But I noticed this little wheel was, like, going from, like, yellow to, like, red on the side of his head while they were fucking him up. So. Oh, could have done. Dude, damn it, are you fucking crashing again? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? No. No. Don't crash. What's wrong with you? Why? Why are you crashing every single time? How am I supposed to play this game? Yeah, that's true. Oh no, it was just a thing I was noticing that was going on. Like he was like processing the situation, like being conflicted. Come on, dude. You're really gonna crash every single time? Kind of wonder if the optimization thing I did is making it crash. I might actually need to take that off. Or I might need to turn my model off. Which sucks because then it makes it harder to make clips. So. Boo. You're gonna crash faster. Man. Man. Come on. Come on. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm gonna put you guys in the back of the lobby real quick, and I'm gonna see, because there's the thing to unrun the optimization. So let's see if that maybe is actually what's making it crash. And if that's not the case, then what I can do is I can turn off my model, and I can see if it'll run better then. I really, really want to continue to play this. because it's really neat. I like it so far. Let's see. Let's be away from me. It's all. Oh, maybe it's the. No, that's the resolution. It's supposed to just be a button. I'll figure it out. I'm so sorry, guys. All right. Let's see. Let's do specs appearances ready to do the optimization. Okay, so it's been reverted. Okay, so let's see if we can if it'll work now. Just on the way it's like default. That's really frustrating though. Okay. We're not gonna crash from now on. We're just gonna work. Come on, little pooter, you can do it. You're the pooter that could. You're the pooter that could compoot. Oh man, we're really all the way back to the start. Oh no, this must be the continuation after the months. Maybe. I hope. Yeah. Damn, dude, all up on the curb. This guy smells like deli meats. 100%. Like all the time smells like meats. Yeah, Salami Sam. Sloppy Salami Sam.
You coming?
This guy's 1,000%
You've been gone for 2 weeks, so the place is a mess. You do the housework, the washing, you cook the meals, and you take care of... God damn it, where the fuck's the brat gone now? Alice! Alice! Oh, there you are. That's Alice. You look after her. Homework, bath, all that crap. Got it?
Yes, Todd.
Get started down here, then you do upstairs.
Definitely Father of the Year. Mean Tess.
TV on.
Oh, so I have to do things.
Yeah. Maybe. Depends on what you need.
Alright.
Yeah. I can get that. Yeah.
Oh my god. Sorry guys, this is probably
I'll bring it tomorrow.
bit of whiplash here.
Yeah, same place. You know where. Right.
That's like the world's smallest trash can. Oh, her little like plushie is cute. Let's see, where else do I? Oh, okay. Have to. Sorry, these controls are a little odd. You know, I've never watched Chobits. Application, protected, credit union, overdrawn. Yeah, there is no way that they're affording this Android. Is Android gonna get like hit by a drive-by or something? Alright, I took out the trash. This is rocking up. Looks like somebody else has got an Android in this neighborhood too.
Fuck, man.
To tell. Finish the first. Oh. Oh, that must be her little charging dock. I guess that was the first floor.
I've made a good start down here. I'll head upstairs.
Do what you have to do, but stop bothering me.
Yep. Taxi. Yeah, he's probably doing some big boy stuff. Head.
Girl's a fucking headache.
And alright. I'm gonna risk it. All sports. American football has largely resisted the spread of Android players, with top-tier games still an exclusively human affair. But that may about to change following CyberLife's recent unveiling of technical demo QB1000, an Android quarterback capable of throwing from end zone to end zone and hitting a target 6 inches wide. The model is also programmed with over 1,500 plays, from classics such as bootlegs and handoffs to more specialized maneuvers, all of which can be adapted in real time. QB1000 was revealed at a recent CyberLife exhibition in Detroit, where the Android manufacturers showed a variety of prototypes designed to show the potential of bleeding-edge technology. But while CyberLife's latest innovation has some fans drooling, Roy Kenstone, founder of the anti-android fan group, sees a sinister aspect. CyberLife know exactly what they are doing with this demonstration. They hope to distort our sport the same way they have all the others. Despite these reservations, some consider this simply to be a matter of time, with basketball and baseball already contemplating Android players. LED Sporting QB might just be around the corner. Price of life, tech egg, how drivers' vehicles make life and death decisions. Space tourism is Mars your next holiday destination? The football mans. They're gonna take people's football mans away from them. I would be super nice to an android if I had. Oh. I mean, he does live in the hood, so... Lock to dialogue or action. Often beneficial. Uh-oh. Why are you slowing down here? No. Oh, don't get choppy now. We're working just fine. Yeah, no, I want to lock that drawer. Why? Why? Why are you being weird? Stop being weird. Oh, no. God damn it. Maybe if I... Why? Why? Let me lock it. Sucks. Like, janky. Stop being janky. I have to turn off my model. That sucks. I'm gonna disappear. Guys. Maybe this will make a difference. Oh yeah. There we go. Now it's running, right? You just won't be able to see my beautiful bearded face. Alright. So, I do have to take that short break I was talking about for, well, actually not quite yet. Let me, hold on 1 second here, guys. I'm so sorry. My doctor is really fast here, so, how about this? We're gonna take a break, and I'm gonna throw you guys in the lobby for a few minutes here. At least let me get it like logged into my doctor's appointment here, and then when it's time, we'll take a little break so I can do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so we can play just a little bit more until I get the notification for my doctor's appointment. So let me back on the game, and then once she pings me, then we'll all right, what was I doing? Queen. Here's gotta tidy the girls' room.
Watch it.
Wow. Optional. Queen. Probably get gross. Go. Demoed. Self in the mirror. I like how this guy was like too lazy to do a single one of the tasks. Of course, when you smell like deli meats, I guess I don't expect you too much. I mean, like, you naturally smell like deli meats, not like you actually have a job, like, working at a deli, because that's different. No disrespect there. This guy is just a whole ass.
I just want to tidy up your room a little. I only need 2 minutes. Is that okay, Alice?
Wonder why I'm scared of. Lock that. That was a good choice. The little girl's model looks familiar too, like I've seen that, like, girl in some movies, like some horror movies.
Seems you like reading. Alice in Wonderland. Of course.
Already tidied Tom's room. It's gonna do. Make sure I didn't miss anything. You got potato chips next to the bed and everything. Okay. Now I've cleaned everything. I like how to, like, really, like, reinforce that they're androids. They have to wear a lot of pleather.
I'm sure we used to be friends before I was reset. Maybe we can be friends again. You should tell me about yourself. What you like to do, where you like to go, your favorite foods. That would really help me. Your father said you chose my name. Kara. It's nice. How did you choose it? You're very quiet. I hope I don't scare you.
Oh no. Guess I did something, okay? Oh, it's the key to her treasure box. It'd be like fucked up if there was like dead animals or something in there, like she was just like super crazy. Salami Joe wasn't always salami. Yeah. Yeah. Could have guessed that. That seemed pretty obvious. Some people are just mad that they smell like salami and it's their own fault. I know. Such a
What are you doing?
surprise.
I'm playing.
You're playing. I know what you're thinking. You think your dad's a lowlife? Huh? Fucking loser? Can't get a job, take care of his family?
No, he can't, because he smells like salami.
Don't you think I tried to make things work? But whatever I do, when someone comes along, they just fuck it all up! I know what you think of me. You hate me. You hate me, don't you? Say it! You hate me!
I do, Daddy. You stink.
God. What am I doing? I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know I love you, don't you? You know I love you.
He's shaking that child. I'm gonna murder this guy. Exactly where this is going. Alright, back to Marcus. This jacket's kind of cool. I kind of like it.
Deactivated. Welcome home, Marcus.
Damn. Okay. I mean, I see that they definitely can afford these art supplies. Pearl. Wow, that's some wild carpet there you got, Carl. Uh-oh. Like his paintings. No, that's not ripped. I thought it was ripped. Seemed to be disabled. got a freaking plesiosaur, like, skeleton. I got a giraffe. Rich people shit. How they just have, like, random ass, like, things they shouldn't have. Or giraffe. Yeah. Ooh, got you in my what?
Good morning, Carl.
Good morning.
It's 10 a.m. The weather is partly cloudy, 54 degrees, 80% humidity with a strong possibility of afternoon showers.
It sounds like a good day to spend in bed.
I did go to pick up the paint that you ordered.
Oh, yes, I've forgotten. That is the difference between you and me, right, Marcus? You never forget anything.
Until you do.
Show me your arm, please, Carl.
No.
Carl. Thank you.
I just opened my eyes and I'm already gritting my teeth. Humans are such a fragile machine. They break down so quickly. All this effort to keep them going. Hey, what happened to your clothes?
Oh, it's nothing. Just some demonstrators in the street, Carl.
What a bunch of idiots. They think they can stop progress by roughing up a few androids?
I like that Carl's got, like,
I hope they didn't harm
Yakuza
you.
tattoos.
Oh, no. They just pushed me around, Carl. I'm fine. Okay. I'll take you to the bathroom now.
Oh. I wonder if I can drop him if I fuck this up. I feel really bad for dropping Carl. Carl seems cool. Also, this totally is an alternate future with non-shitty politicians, because an artist can be, like, stinking rich.
Anything special on the agenda today?
Yes, there's the opening of your retrospective at the Museum of Modern Art. The gallery director left 4 messages asking to confirm your attendance.
I haven't decided yet. We'll see about that later.
Okay.
What else?
Just your usual fan mail. I've already answered.
Any news from Leo?
No, Carl. I can call him if you like.
No. No, don't bother.
Hold on one sec, guys. I think maybe my appointment. I'm gonna throw you guys in the lobby, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I am back. My doctor's so nice. She's the best. Anyway, let's go ahead and let's jump back into this. Gotta take care of Carl here. Carl's a very important, cool guy, as far as I know. As far as we've seen thus far.
I'm starving.
Well, your breakfast is ready. Bacon and eggs, just the way you like them.
Thank you, Marcus.
You're welcome.
Oh, is it this? God, it's so hard to see. Sorry, Marcus. I mean, Carl. Old guy. Oh, I'm sorry, Annie. Resist. No, it's okay. I had to pop out for a doctor's appointment, and then I pop back in, so that's why it's kind of like a sudden jump scare there. French press coffee and everything.
Thank you, Marcus. Television.
Tensions continue to rise in the Arctic since Russia unilaterally declared the region part of its national territory. Several Russian warships have taken position in the Barents Sea since Saturday, and a Russian flag now flies over the ice field. The Russian president...
Why don't you find something to do while I finish my breakfast?
Sure. Okay, Carl.
On the other hand, last night, the American ambassador again informed an emergency meeting of the UN that the United States would not accept this annexation under any circumstances. Several American destroyers are reported to be headed to the Barents Sea.
The North Pole, why Russia wants it.
UN announced at a press conference that we have never been so close to a third
Russia's interest in the North Pole has intensified with the recent discovery of precious minerals trapped in the frozen ice, many of which are used in synthesizing therium. Android manufacture increasingly dominates both the US and Russian economies. This isn't just about GDP surplus. Therium reserves would allow either nation to experiment in more advanced Android models, enhancing their military and industrial output tremendously. Add to the strategic importance of the region, which connects Russia with Europe through Norway and Denmark, Greenland, as well as Canada, and the prospect of a peaceful resolution to the dispute starts to seem unlikely. But a spokesperson for NATO is more optimistic. Both nations stand to benefit from a stable, productive Arctic region. A conflict would benefit nobody. President Warren, however, recently torpedoed the notion. It's simple. Russia has no business in the Arctic. If the Kremlin doesn't understand that, we will make them. Detroit Today, life found on Titan. Evidence for alien life grows. President Warren to make state visit to United Kingdom. NATO Security Council divided over Arctic dispute.
Television off. Mankind is so depressing. Nothing but greed, stupidity, and violence. 5,000 years of civilization just to get to where we are.
I mean, Carl, talking about greed here. Got this, like, ballin' ass place. I'm not saying that's, like, you know, not okay, but, you know. Like, you know, if you legit, like, earned it.
Fancy game of chess?
Sure, yeah.
I have no
Speed
idea
chess.
how to play
Speed
chess,
chess
by
it
the way.
is.
That is a very odd draw.
Well, I know that you don't like to lose, but you don't like it when I let you win either. A draw feels like an honorable compromise, no?
One day I won't be here to take care of you anymore. You'll have to protect yourself and make your choices. Decide who you are and want to become. This world doesn't like those who are different, Marcus. Don't let anyone tell you who you should be.
Hell yeah, Carl.
Let's go to the studio.
Doing here. Oh, this thing. Oh. All right, Carl, I see you. Shit. Hell yeah.
Let's see where we left off. Remove the sheet.
Huh. Studios. Sick. As cool as it would be to have a big open studio with like natural light like that, it would be really difficult to do digital art in unless you had like a non-glare tablet. Kind of looks like the North Pole.
So, what's your verdict, Marcus?
Yes, there is something about it. Something I can't quite define. I guess I like it.
The truth is, I have nothing left to say anymore. Each day that goes by brings me closer to the end. I'm just an old man clinging to his brushes.
Carl.
But enough about me. Let's see if you have any talent. Give it a try. Try painting something.
It's like
Paint?
bitch, I'm
But would I...
Android.
Painting what?
Anything you want.
I could just copy
Give it a try.
whatever. Subject. New desk. Painting. I want to paint Carl though. Alright, let's do the desk.
That is a perfect copy of reality. But painting is not about replicating the world. It's about interpreting, improving on it, showing something you see.
Carl, I don't think I can do that. It's not in my program.
Go on, go. Try it. Grab that canvas.
Like, come on, man.
Do something for me. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Trust me. Try to imagine something that doesn't exist, something you've never seen. Now concentrate on how it makes you feel, and let your hand drift across the canvas.
And all of those are pretty pressing. Let's try. Despair, despair.
Oh my God.
This guy looks.
Hey, Dad.
Something. Yep.
Leo. I didn't hear you come in.
Oh, I was in the neighborhood. I thought I'd stop by. It's been a while, right?
You all right? You don't look so good.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Hey, listen, I need some cash, Dad.
Again? What happened to the money I just gave you?
Well, it just goes, you know?
Yeah.
Goes into my
you're on it
veins,
again, aren't
up
you?
my nose.
No, I swear, it's not that.
Don't lie to me, Leo.
What difference does it make? I just need some cash, that's all.
Sorry. The answer's no.
What? Why?
You know why.
Yeah, I think I do know why. you'd rather take care of your plastic toy here than your own son, right? Tell me, Dad, what's it got that I don't? Smarter, more obedient, not like me, right? But you know what? This thing is not your son. It's a fucking machine!
Leo, that's enough. Enough.
It would red there for a sec.
You don't care about anything except yourself and your goddamn paintings. You've never loved anyone. You never loved me, Dad. You never loved me.
You gonna fuck around with your Yakuza dad? Come on, man. Carl's cool. Don't give him that shit. This is all taking place 5 days until my birthday in the future. Damn, I'll be old. No androids allowed. And no dogs. And fuck the bullies. I'm going. I do what I want. And then there's.
Shit, I thought androids weren't allowed in here. your problem?
Buy me a drink? I thought.
Oh. Let's guess. It's here. So I had all the datas. Bartender, what's he? This guy. Bartender, come on, man. Also did. Guy's also got a very salami look to him. Oh, there's the bartender. Come on. Son of a bitch. I want the bartender. Alright, whatever. That's fine.
Lieutenant Anderson, my name is Connor.
Oh,
I'm the
shit,
android
is that
sent by
Clancy?
CyberLife. I looked for you at the station, but nobody knew where you were. They said you were probably having a drink nearby.
Oh, damn it, now it's fake.
I was lucky to find you at the 5th bar.
What do you want?
You were assigned a case early this evening. A homicide involving a CyberLife android. In accordance with procedure, the company has allocated a specialized model to assist investigators.
Well, I don't need any assistance. Especially not from a plastic asshole like you. Just be a good little robot and get the fuck out of here.
I'm sorry, Lieutenant, but I must insist. My instructions stipulate that I have to accompany you.
You know where you can stick your instructions?
No. Where?
Never mind.
I understand that some people are not comfortable in the presence of androids.
Yeah, it's Mr. Krabs.
But I am perfectly comfortable. Now back off before I crush you like an empty beer can.
You know what? I'll buy you one for the road. What do you say? Bartender, the same again, please.
See, that Jim wonders at technology. Make it a double. Did you say homicide?
Please come to neutral before I got here. Mr. Krabs is sloshed on the scene. Oh, he still drives an old-ass car, too.
You wait here. I won't be long.
My instructions are to accompany you to the crime scene, Lieutenant.
Listen, I don't give a fuck about your instructions. I told you to wait here, so you shut the fuck up and you wait here.
Josh Douglas for Channel 16. Can you confirm that this is a homicide?
I'm not confirming anything.
Yeah, fucking police. Even though I am the police.
Androids are not permitted beyond this point.
It's with me.
What part of staying in the car didn't you understand?
Your order contradicted my instructions, Lieutenant.
You don't talk, you don't touch anything, and you stay out of my way. Got it?
Got it.
Evening, Hank. We were starting to think you weren't gonna show.
Yeah, that was the plan till this asshole found me.
So, you got yourself an android, huh?
Oh, very funny. Just tell me what happened.
We had a call around 8 from the landlord. The tenant hadn't paid his rent for a few months. So he thought he'd drop by, see what was going on. That's when he found the body. Jesus, that smell was even worse before we opened. The windows. The victim's name's Carlos Ortiz.
Oh, God.
He has a record for theft and aggravated assault. According to the neighbors, he was kind of a loner.
Red ice.
Stayed inside most of the time. They hardly ever saw him.
Wow, state he's in. Wasn't worth calling everybody out in the middle of the night. Could have waited till morning.
I'd say he's been there for a good 3 weeks. We'll know more when the
Oh, you're gonna get like
coroner gets here.
Android code.
There's
or
a
something.
kitchen knife over here. Probably the murder weapon.
Any sign of a break-in?
Nope. The landlord said the front door was locked from the inside. All the windows were boarded up. The killer must have gone out the back way.
What do we know about his android?
Not much. The neighbors confirmed he had one, but it wasn't here when we arrived. I gotta get some air. Make yourself at home. I'll be outside if you need.
Camera angles are hard to deal with here. Damn it. Ooh. Yeah. So far. Blood. This
Each letter is perfect. It's way too neat. No human writes like this.
the struggle.
Chris, was this written in the victim's blood?
I would say so. We're taking samples for a
And took a knife. Just the itself looks kind of like it. Yep.
Red ice. Seems our friend Carlos liked to party. Chris, I want full analysis on the narcotics.
Android sex officially better. Sorry, ladies, but plastic can't be beat. The result of our survey is in, and it's official. 68% of men prefer sex with an android, a real woman. And with 52% of men saying they've tried the experience at least once. That's a lot of android love to go around. Yes, self high five. Let's see. There are a few reasons given for this preference, but we think we know the real reason. Androids don't want to talk about their feelings afterward. The story was sponsored by Eden Club. Discretion is our middle name. Tech Addict. Is your android spying on you? CyberLife should be using its androids to collect private could be using its androids to collect private info. Blah blah blah. Who cares? Your phone collects private information from you, so
Consider it done, Lieutenant. Hey, Mike, you finished taking samples there?
Yeah, that's it.
and these fucking camera angles. No, where? More evidence here. Here. Blood. Alright, briefing concluded. Oh.
Door was locked from the inside. Killer must have gone out this way.
There are no footprints apart from Officer Collins' size 10 shoes.
Well, this happened weeks ago. Tracks could have faded.
No, this type of soil would retain a trace. Nobody's been out here for a long time.
Seems like I'm not drunk enough for this. I got Krabby Patties to make. There's more evidence. That didn't. This? Did read it. Oh, I didn't read this part. CyberLife could be using its androids to collect your private information. Hey, Nifa, how's it going? Let me get some more. More and more experts are suggesting that CyberLife uses its 120 million androids to record details of private conversations with customers and sell them to trading partners. Ever talked about buying that new car while eating dinner with your partner? CyberLife could use that information for targeted advertising. So like your phone. The information goldmine doesn't stop there. Everything from personal indiscretions to political affiliations could easily be distracted, potentially used for nefarious purposes, like your phone. The spate of reports linking Warren's presidency to CyberLife only deepens such concerns. Several consumer rights organizations have requested that CyberLife disclose the information it gathers and who it sells that information to. But the company has always refused. Requests for a formal inquiry have gone unanswered so far. Okay, was that still not part of the evidence? I've got two more pieces of evidence to find.
What's keeping the car? He should have been there a half hour.
He's on his way. It won't be long now.
Oh, they're the actual corpse and stuff on the wall.
Come on, guys, get a move on. We don't want to be here all night.
Don't worry. No one wants to stay here a minute longer than they have to.
Analyze. So. Ugh. That's gross. fuck? God damn. Short names. I'm a detective. Came from the victim was stabbed.
He was stabbed 28 times.
Yeah. Seems like the killer really had it in for him.
Wait, there's one more evidence. Where's the final evidence? For the more piece of evidence that I'm missing here. I feel like that's important. I gotta be thorough here. I'm a detective. What am I missing? The only thing that lights up in here is the book, but I've already read the book. I mean, the article. I missed something. I didn't. Maybe there was something else. Read it all. Cool. Bombastic side eye, yeah. Hey, okay. Oh, fuck. I don't know where this final piece of evidence is, so... we're gonna see if Mr. Krabs, so... Oh, shit. I'm so good at this. Oh shit. No, I fucked up. No. I don't know why. I got nervous. I hit all the wrong things. Can I just do that again? Can I play it again? Shit. I fucked up. Wait. Yeah, I just fucked up. No, God. I didn't realize I didn't have like unlimited like guesses.
Todd?
I'm great at this.
Dinner is ready.
Okay, so he's doing the same drug. Sir? Forget. Go to the main menu and start it over again.
This is your story chart. It shows what parts of the story you've explored and what parts you've missed. You can track the choices made by other players and do many other things besides. You can use this chart to replay from any point in the story, but the people who designed me recommend that you play through at least once without going back, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Either way, it's your story.
That's fine, but so I did miss some. There must have been something. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna continue. We're gonna see what kind of results I get, and then maybe I'll do like another playthrough where I do different choices. I guess I'm kind of ruining it by like, you know, going back and like solving where I fucked up, you know? So we're just gonna keep playing.
Todd?
Salami! Genoa! Pepperoni!
Dinner is ready.
Now Mr. Clancy's not gonna trust me. I have to earn Clancy's trust back. Oh, my name's on my back in case I forget. Like a football man's.
There wasn't much in the kitchen.
Hockey man's.
I did what I could.
Life's funny. I lost my job because of androids. And when I need somebody to take care of this goddamn house, what do? I go out and hire a fucking android. What a joke.
I mean, you could do some shit
androids are so
yourself.
fucking wonderful. They never fail. They're never tired. Never sad. They're so fucking perfect. They ruin my fucking life.
Got money for meth, though, man.
What are you looking at? What's your fucking problem? Not the life you dreamed of, eh? Maybe you think this is easy. Maybe you think it's my fault we live in this fucking shithole.
It is.
My fault your fucking mother took off.
It is.
You should stop taking drugs, Todd.
Yep.
Sometimes you really scare me, Todd.
Yep.
Fucking bitch took off without a word. Fucking whore walked out on me for a fucking accountant! It's all your fault.
Daddy, no!
It's all your fucking fault! Get back here. Come back here! Come back here right now! You stay there. Don't you dare fucking move, or I'll bust you worse than last time.
Yeah, okay. Hell yeah, Kara, let's go! Let's go! Definitely doing that.
Took off without a word. I could have been happy. I could have had a family. But no!
Todd, please, I know you're angry, but...
You stay out of this,
or
you'll be next. Alice! Daddy's very mad!
Using a knife. Good idea.
Come on! Come here, you little brat!
I'm about to go get that fucking gun is what I'm about to do.
Don't make me come and get you! Your fault! She left because of you! Stop wriggling! I'll teach you to respect your father! You'll soon see who's boss here!
Daddy!
You're good, Alice.
That's enough! Leave her alone.
What the fuck are you doing? Put down the gun and get the fuck out of here. That's an order!
No! I want you to leave her alone.
You want? What do you mean you want?
I want you to stop
What are you
smelling
gonna
like
do?
salami.
You gonna shoot me? Is that it? You gonna shoot a human? You seem to have a problem. I think we need to fix that.
You can't give me a too full salami.
Come here, bitch.
Stop, Dad! Don't hurt her!
Yeah, he's really trying.
Leave her alone!
You do as I say!
Yeah. He dead. He's super dead. Hell yeah. like, fuck that guy. Yes, shiny new android mom. You're right. We're not gonna make her go to the back. Definitely best mom. It's actually not blood, it's spaghetti sauce. Because he was like, he just sweats spaghetti sauce. He's not actually dead. Man, there was a lot of different...
Good evening, Carl. Welcome.
That was by far the most boring party I've been to in the last 25 years. Every time I go to one of these, I ask myself, what the hell am I doing here? I hate cocktail parties and all the schmoozers that go there.
Well, it's a chance for all those people who admire your work to meet you.
Yeah. No one gives a damn about art. All they care about is how much money they're gonna make out of it. Come on, let's have a drink. Oh, the excitement of this whole thing has made me thirsty.
Place is too big, man. Oh, wait.
Scotch, neat as usual?
Absolutely.
Okay, but you know what your doctor would say.
Yeah, well, he can kiss my ass. I'm old enough to choose my own medication.
Scotch is so gross. It tastes like burnt Band-Aids.
Did you leave the light on in the studio?
No, I'm sure I didn't.
Uh-oh. Theo's definitely.
Call the police.
Detroit Police, what's your emergency?
This is Carl Manfred's android at 8941 Lafayette Avenue. We've just returned home and found the lights on. There may have been a break-in.
A patrol car is on the way.
Let's go check it out.
Supposed to wait. Also, we're gonna take Wheelchair Man? Like... Alright.
Leo! What are you doing?
You refuse to help me, so I'm helping myself. It's crazy what some people pay for this shit.
Don't touch them.
Look, they're all gonna be mine sooner or later anyway. Just think of it as a down payment on my inheritance.
Marcus, get him away from there. Get him out of here.
Listen, you should go before things get worse.
Leo does.
All you ever do is tell me to go away. What's wrong, Dad? Not good enough for you? Not perfect, like this fucking thing?
That's enough! Get out! Right now!
What makes it so special anyway, huh? What's it got that I don't?
Leave him alone!
Come on, let's see what you got!
Marcus, don't defend yourself, you hear me? Don't do anything.
Go ahead, hit me. What you waiting for? Think you're a man? Act like one.
Stop it!
What's the matter? Too much of a pussy?
Stop it, Leo! Stop it!
Too scared to fight back, you fucking bitch! Oh, right, that's right. I forgot you're not a real person. You're just a fucking piece of plastic.
Oh, Leo, leave him alone!
Oh, was there an
Destroy
option for
you.
that?
Then it'll just be me and my dad. I'm gonna tear you apart, and nobody's gonna give a shit. You know why? because you're nothing. You hear me? You're nothing.
No, Carl.
Carl, no! Oh, Carl.
Humans.
No, Carl. Did I fuck up again? Am I the king of fuck ups?
Don't leave, okay? Please don't go. Don't leave.
Remember, Marcus,
Yeah, seriously.
don't let anybody tell you who you are.
No. No. Dad. No. Please.
This is all your fault. This never would have happened if it weren't for you.
Uh-oh.
The android. It was the android.
Wow, fuck Leo. I should have punched him. God damn. Man, fuck Leo. For real. Yeah, they didn't even ask any questions. They just immediately shot. Yeah. They're all racist. These poor androids have to stand out here in the rain.
All right. End the line.
End of the line.
Yeah, you're gonna have to leave.
Wake up.
Did I clean the blood off?
We have to go.
Or should I say the spaghetti sauce that leaked out of, whatever the fuck that dude's name was, Tom? Todd? Something like that. Big old fat slob of suck.
Do you know if there's any other place we could spend the night?
I have no idea. She's gonna have to leave.
Man, I gotta make sure I don't get Kara killed. I'm not doing so great so far, so.
You gonna be okay? We'll find somewhere to spend the night.
No, she's instantly gonna get sick.
Come on, Alice, we've gotta hurry. We need a place to stay. Do you know anywhere we could spend the night?
Wow. Dick. That's why they left you there. Hell yeah, Burger Zone. Mega Watcher. Oh, go in.
It's warm in here. You'll feel better in no time.
Oh, was there a diner? Did I not look good enough? I'm so good at this. Change of clothes. Ah. my close friends. Hell yeah.
What are you doing? They're not our clothes. We need them, Alice. You need something warm, and I need to get rid of this uniform. But that's stealing. We can't do that. I'm sorry, Alice, but we have to do this.
We did a steal. Wake up, guy. No, Alice didn't like it. Wake up. Oh, wake up. Why? Let me do the thing. Steal! The guy was gonna be the president of the United States of America. He's sent down the road of God, this controls. I'm sorry, Barack. I do miss you, man. Oh, don't wake up, Mr. President. The bees! The beeline to disaster. Pollinating bees officially extinct. For decades, scientists and farmers foresaw the inevitable extinction of bee population. Despite these warnings, the Global Institute of Endangered Species announced that their Washington AGM yesterday that wild bees are now officially extinct. Living specimens exist only in captivity. Bee numbers have been ravaged in recent decades by colony collapse, disorder where worker bees disappear, leaving hives which cannot feed themselves. Biologists confirmed that the CCD was accelerated by the overuse of pesticides in crops, parasites, and pollution. The consequences of this catastrophe will be felt across the cotton industry, freshwater supplies, and most disturbingly, agriculture. Environmentalist Kathy and Linda stressed the breadth of this news. 1 in 3 mouthfuls of food we eat relies on pollination of some kind. The resulting famine will lead to millions of deaths worldwide. CyberLife, in cooperation with GIES, have come forward with plans on creating robotic bees. Some are pursuing non-robotic approaches, such as Detroit Urban Farms, currently experimenting with modified strains of bee produced in captivity, but there is no guarantee that they will thrive. My husband got an android pregnant. Story inside. It's time to face the music. Live concert to make a comeback. 10 ways to please your man and keep it. Alright, let's get the This dude wakes up. Brain explodes. I know, Alice, I know. I didn't want to steal from him either. Kinda had to. Good food grill. It's over this way. You know what, I should probably cross. We're gonna keep little Alice safe.
Looks like we found a place to stay.
It's a motel. Let's see what. Comfortable but safe. Go by. I don't know about that. That seems pretty sketchy. Very uncomfortable, but discreet. Alright, let's try the motel first. Though I doubt they have any money, so that might be a bit of an issue. Oh, there's a probably this. Won't be open before March. Unless we open it. We could do a crime. Can I break in? So? Oh.
We're not going in?
We can't, Alice. I don't have any money. We have to find $40. Or go somewhere else.
Okay. Oh, that guy looked out like he... Maybe he'll just be cool? Bring human clothes. Check. Let's check. Why are you wandering over there? Okay. Hopefully. Okay. Okay.
Alice, you're freezing cold.
I'm okay. I'm not so cold.
Lies.
You look lost.
We have nowhere to go.
I know someone who can help you.
But that's on the other side of town. We need a place for tonight.
He just Batman me? What the fuck?
Come on, Alice.
Thank you for using Detroit buses.
This motherfucker Batman me. Unprotected hand holding, yeah.
Look, the store is still open. Maybe we should go inside. At least you'll be out of the cold.
Can I help you?
I'm with a little girl, and we have nowhere to go. Could you spare some money so we can get a room for tonight?
Look, this is a convenience store, lady, not the Salvation Army. I can't start handing out cash to every bum in the neighborhood.
All designed to appear live and well. CyberLife has announced the opening of 11 new android zoos all over the country where visitors of all ages
No, we're not gonna
the
run.
wonders of the natural world.
already done a steal, so I feel like that's gonna... I've done a murder and I've done a steal. Okay, it's showing me where I can steal if I wanted to do a steal. I'm gonna do the gun. I don't want Alice to get, like, more...
Alice, I need your help. You see those cans over there? I want you to go over and knock them down.
Knock them down? But why?
Please. Alice, just trust me.
Oh no, this is for a steal. I didn't want to do a steal. Ooh.
You alright? Are you hurt?
I guess we're doing a steal.
Well, don't worry. It's just a few cans.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah. Oh man. Batman. We Batman him now.
Fuck!
Oh, this poor guy. He's gonna get in trouble now.
We have some cash now.
You used me to steal that money. How could you do that? I trusted you.
You're right. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, Alice. I'll never do it again.
Until I do. Let's go ahead.
Hi.
Hey, I'd like a room.
That'll be $40 up front. Just need your name and address. Can I see your driver's license?
We were in a rush. I think I forgot it at home.
No worries. We can deal with it tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
Have a good night.
Good night. Let's go, Alice.
I mean, it's a motel in, like, Detroit. I don't think he's gonna be asking too many
Do you
questions.
think he believed you?
I don't know, Alice. All I know is you'll be nice and warm tonight.
128. There. Sometimes you gotta do a crime to take care of a little girl. What kind of android mommy would I be if I didn't do a little crime? Lock that shit.
Here, give me your coat.
a tiny bit. Prime. Sure. Let's be sketchy for a sec.
Let's get these clothes off. They're soaking wet.
Yes, be a good android mom.
I'll just put these in the bathroom to dry.
You know what really sucked? That guy that I did a steal from was like related to the guy that owns the motel. That would really suck. Wonder if she could like put a whole bunch of like makeup over her little thingy. Or like a band-aid or something.
Why didn't he ever love me? Why was he always so upset with me? All I wanted was a life like other girls. Maybe I did something wrong.
Yeah, he was gonna be vice president.
Maybe I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
That's why he was always so angry. I just wanted us to be a family. I just wanted him to love me.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Why
Like a
couldn't we
steal.
just be happy?
I don't know.
You'll never leave me, right? Promise you'll never go.
I promise.
Will we be together forever?
Forever.
Some people suck. Not the hover hug. Give her a real hug.
You should sleep now.
So, android usually means that there's like
I'm
some
going to turn off the light,
organic
okay?
parts to it, right? Or cyborg. Okay, cyborg is somewhere. Okay.
Sleep tight, Alice.
Didn't even take my shoes off. No, trust me. See how well this goes. How long I can keep this up. Dragon Ball Z caused that confusion since I think the android actually cyborgs say it. Yeah, I mean Cell was obviously like organic too because like he could like, you know, regenerate himself from if there was a single cell of him left. So it's kind of like a biodroid. Biomecha. I think what we'll do here is we'll play this chapter and then I will probably call it for today. I'm getting hungry. Oh no! It's Marcus. He's still alive, that's good. Yo. Vision. Power. Your shit's fucked up, Marcus. Right leg compromised. Place legs. Oh. Good thing there's just some legs laying around. Easily modifiable. Hell yeah. Good design. I'm gonna look like a Terminator now, but you know. That one looks like it's pretty busted. Yeah. Bird? Alright. This doesn't have to go very far. Oh yeah, I got some legs. Oh no, am I gonna have to steal this poor guy's heart? He's still going. He's looking at me. Man. It's pretty horrendous. Oh god.
There's a place where we can be free. Find Jericho! Find Jericho!
Hell yeah. This game looks so good. Oh man, this is traumatizing. Oh my god, it's so traumatizing. Oh no. So sad. God damn. I see. Oh shit, there's some that are like wandering around. God damn. Blah, blah, blah. Let's find an eyeball. Optical unit. Think of that.
I'm begging you, please. End it. I don't want to live anymore. Make it quick.
Hopefully I can get some spares from this guy. Sorry, buddy, but you wanted it. And well, I was hoping I could get some parts from it, but it's not. Oh no!
Please don't do that. I don't want to live.
Sorry. Playing this on stream, I don't have time to be running around. Sorry. You weren't an MC, so, you know, you could have also been the president. So I needed gear, and I needed a Bible. Looks like I can't really scan. There we go.
Hello. I'm an AK-700 android. I was designed to serve you. What can I do for you? Hello.
My program has detected an anomaly. Please contact the nearest CyberLife Maintenance Center.
At least he doesn't seem to feel pain while I do it, so. Okay. That's a little. That's gonna make things a lot easier. Yeah, I got the heterochroma or whatever. It's not that one. It's climbing. Let's see if I can find it here. Or we try coming up there. There we go. Oh man, it's so cool. By the way, welcome, Alex. I was gonna play through this section, and then I was gonna get some food, because I'm like really... Oh, damn. Good shit. Poor Marcus. No, you can do it, Marcus. I believe in you. The Marcus Shank Redemption. Yeah. Yeah, my usual MO. Oh. I mean, brother, we could have just covered it up. Oh. That's a neat little trick. There it is. Hey, you know, welcome to your new life of more choices.
My name is Marcus.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Marcus got the fit. Exactly. Can't put any restrictions on love, man. Alright. Hell yeah. So we got Marcus back here. I think this is where we're gonna call it for today. I'm sorry you just showed up, Alex, to hang out. I really appreciate you hopping in. No, and during ad jail time? Jeez. Alright, let me throw you guys in the lobby here so we can do a little wrap up. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today while we played this game. It's pretty awesome. Oh my god, you guys are in ad jail too. No. No. Can you guys hear me while you're in ad jail? Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I played this game. It is super cool. I am really feeling it. I like this kind of games, so you have 4 more ads. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do this all for free for all you guys, but Daddy Anarchy needs some cash, so you know, it's the best I can do. Yeah, go ahead, Alex. Need that cheddar, that lettuce, that bread, that bag. Ooh, hell yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Aw, shit. I'm super excited, Alex. That's awesome. I can't wait. Nice. Well, if you like the kind of content I do, please follow me to see when I go live. Consider subscribing. As I said, I need that bag, so if you really, really love my content, subscribing would help out, especially if you have Amazon Prime. You can sub for free by clicking the button. I will be back tomorrow. We are going to be working on John 117's OC Art Raffle win. No, it's okay, Alex. I get it. But anyway, we'll be back at the normal time, hopefully with no interruptions today. I will catch you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.